The leader of the free world wound up his two-nation tour of Africa with a hard-hitting statement directed at the continent's leaders who have held on to power for decades and ruled their nations with an iron fist. His sentiments at the African Union headquarters in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia, seemingly directed at the crop of African presidents who have refused to step aside when their terms ended or conspired to amend their country's constitution to hold on to power.
Democracy is not just formal elections. As governments crack down on civil society, then you may have democracy in name but not in substance. And I'm convinced that nations cannot realize the full promise of independence until they fully protect the rights of their people.
Obama specifically narrowed down on Burundi President Pierre Nkurunziza, who in the past week was controversially re-elected to serve a third presidential term, despite the country's constitution barring him. Burundi has since been plunged into a crisis, with Nkurunziza's critics pouring into the streets to protest the poll outcome that was boycotted by opposition candidates.
When a leader tries to change the rules in the middle of the game just to stay in office, it risks instability and strife, as we've seen in Burundi. And this is often just a first step down a perilous path.
In Rwanda, the country's parliament a fortnight ago unanimously approved a petition seeking to amend Article 101 of the Constitution to scrap the presidential term limit and allow President Paul Kagame seek a third 7-year term. The petition will be subjected to a referendum, and though Kagame insists he had nothing to do with the amendment, his critics claim he was keen on being Rwanda's president for life.
And sometimes you'll hear a leader say, well, I'm the only person who can hold this nation together. If that's true, then that leader has failed to truly build their nation.
In 18 months, curtains come down on Obama's second and last term in office. And while he has no option but to exit the White House, he challenged African leaders who have been in power for too long to call it a day and pave the way for fresh leadership.
I actually think I'm a pretty good president. I think if I ran, I could win. But I can't. So there's a lot that I'd like to do to keep America moving, but the law is the law.
Obama had yesterday held a special session with heads of state from the Intergovernmental Authority on Development IGAD member states to find solutions to the South Sudan crisis, the leader of the world superpower threatening undisclosed sanctions if President Salva Kiir and his rival Dr. Riek Machar do not cease hostilities within 2 weeks.
Now's time for a breakthrough. And if we don't see a breakthrough by August 17th, then we're going to have to consider what other tools we have to apply greater pressure.
Hundreds of South Sudan citizens have been killed in the violence that has taken an ethnic turn, with thousands forced to flee their homes after violence broke out in the continent's youngest nation 18 months ago. Francis Gashuri for The Big Question.